Welcome again to the Sola Shraya podcast, a weekly bhakti podcast. We will seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna with Shastra, prayer, and conversation. I'm your host, Bhakti Jake. I am joined with my good friend and teacher, Balaram Shakti Das, and we have two very auspicious guests with us too. One of the name of Krsna Baldeo. How you doing today, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm fabulous. Glad to be here. Glad to have some sadhu sangha, virtual sadhu sangha.
Very, very nice to have you with us. And then we have another guest who is kind of like likes to kind of be quiet, but she's a very beautiful Bhaktin, I think, right? Female Bhakta, yes, who helps with us, helps helps do things with us here at the show.
Oh, and I
How's
changed
this?
my name, I guess, to my most recent name. I guess it's Krishna Kirt. Well, I know it's Krishna Kirtan Das.
Oh, oh, that's a beautiful name. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want us to call you that? Is,
Sure, yeah. Well, like I grew up just Krishna my whole life, and
sure.
around like age 13, they're like, "Did you know your name's Krishna Chaitanya?" And I'm like, "I have two first names? What?" And then around like 25, I took the step, I took the plunge, I jumped in, and then
Yeah,
yeah, I got this name.
yeah. So you're living in Vancouver, is that right?
Yeah, beautiful British Columbia, Lower Mainland. It's a lot of forest. It's like city all over the place, but there's a lot of like forest, a lot of parks. So and it's we live in Canada, but it's like we don't live in Canada. We don't get harsh weather, harsh winds, we don't get harsh rain, harsh hail. It's very calm, but
Hmm.
also we do get a lot of rain. But I guess that's better than 10 feet of snow,
Yeah,
wind chill of minus like 16.
yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely is.
We hardly go below zero, so that's Krishna's mercy here.
Oh wow, yeah, that's kind of unusual for Canada because Canada usually gets like, yeah, look at this guy. Yeah.
I'm
So
a wannabe Canadian, basically. I have the name, but I don't have the creds.
that's the weather thing kind of makes sense because I remember in like a former life, I guess you would say now, like there are a lot of very famous skateboarders from Vancouver. It's a known skateboard destination throughout the
Nice.
world is Vancouver, British Columbia. And I can see now. I didn't know that the weather was that mild, but if anywhere where the weather is mild, there's going to be a pretty powerful skateboard scene. Oh my goodness, there was some like heavy hitters from Vancouver too.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice parks. I also, dabbled in skating too. I can do my ollie on a curb.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I did not know this before we started. Really?
Yeah, I'm not your typical Hare Krishna, let's just say that.
Oh, okay. Wow. Do you have a board right now? Do you have a board?
Yeah, I got a longboard. My
Oh,
skateboard broke, so but I have a longboard. I'm practicing like drifting a little bit.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna be like hitting the streets like street style or mini
I
ramp?
don't know. I still hit the streets, I'll carry my tennis racket and my longboard and I'll go to a local park and hit the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll see if I can't uh, hook you up with something a little more up to date than a longboard. I'll see if I can. I'm gonna start working on
Yeah,
that.
I've been trying to get a skateboard. I've been trying to get my hands on one, but just it's not a priority.
They're like, "Oh, you longboard? Wow, we're not gonna talk anymore. See ya." No, I'm just kidding. No, longboarding is skateboard. Skateboarding is skateboarding. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter.
Mm, mm.
As long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter what you do on a skateboard. As long as you're out there having fun.
Have fun. Wear a helmet.
Yeah. Yep. So Balaram, sorry about that, Balaram. How are
You're
things with
fine.
you? It looks like you got a nice new haircut there, Balaram. You're always nice and fresh with your nice haircut. How's it going out there in Tucson, Prabhu?
Fantastic.
Good. Good. Do you guys want to jump right into the Shastra today?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me bring up let me screen share the prayers, and we can do the prayers real quick. Oh yeah. Here we go.
Balaram, are you on like a laptop, or
Yeah.
if you don't mind, could you just like move your screen a little down? Like, your outfit looks too nice to not be on camera.
He's very stylish, Balaram. He's always top fashion, top Hare Krishna fashion man right here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I want to kind of expand this so it's big enough. Okay, are the prayers up? Can everyone see the prayers?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. All right, Balaram.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri
Sri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda Shri
Nityananda Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Shivasadi Gaura
Saraswati Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare
Hare Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare
Rama
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 Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
All right. All right. Let me hop over to the scripture, the Shastra. And we are in we're kind of we're moving along at our own pace. We read like one paragraph a day. Oh my goodness, it's all right though. We have, what do they call that? Job security. Yeah. We have script Shastra security.
We'll never finish it if we relish every moment, it'll never be finished.
Yeah, well, we'll be reading the Shastra up in heaven in Gokula.
Yeah, it's actually infinite.
Oh, isn't it?
Unlimited. Even that which was recorded by our acharyas was like an ocean. You could never finish. I mean, you'd have to read like 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
The rest of your life, and even then,
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's called Purana, right? Because it's Purana. It's old but always new.
Wow.
Can you elaborate?
Purana. So it's
Right, it means ancient, right?
it's ancient, it's old knowledge, but it's always like fresh and new. And anytime you read it,
Mhm.
you're gonna get something different out of it. Because like we like for
Mm.
example, we did only one paragraph yesterday and we had a whole hour discussion on it because there's so much context. Like the words are so powerful. They're positive words that are empowered with like Shakti energy
Mhm.
compared to talking about a baseball game. We're
Mm.
talking about, the wonderful stories of like the Coward Boys.
Mm. Yeah, and last week we read that same paragraph and we had a completely different conversation about it.
Yeah. It's alive. Like the Shastra is literally living. It's like it is Krishna talking to you where you're at. He's meeting us where we're at. I mean,
I
he's
love that.
credibility.
Yeah, that's so amazing though. Like Krishna meets us to where we are at. That's why there's so many like forms for us to admire. Like sure, there's Krishna. Yeah, you can always, go straight for the goal. But then if you want to worship Rama or Shiva, Ganesh, Krishna, like God comes to us as far as we go to him.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely go along with that one for sure. I mean, yeah, I've experienced that for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, how does the screen share look right now on the screen? Is this
I mean, it looks great.
normal? It looks
Looks
good.
great.
Looks full.
Okay. All right. Does anybody but me want to read?
I'm always happy to volunteer.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the highlighted portion.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Krishna book. Um, for persons who are not very advanced in absolute knowledge of the Supreme, Lord Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastime. Such persons can simply think of the pastimes of the Lord and get full benefit. Since there is no difference between the transcendental name and form of the Lord, there is no difference between the transcendental pastimes and the form of the Lord. For those who are less intelligent, the great sage Vyasadeva wrote the Mahabharata.
I know.
Let's not get canceled here.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff in here, right?
We can always discuss that another time.
Yeah.
In the Mahabharata, Krishna is present in his different activities. The Mahabharata is history, and simply by studying, hearing, and memorizing the transcendental activities of Krishna, the less intelligent can also gradually rise to the standard of pure devotee.
Maybe we could pause there real quick. The next paragraph is going into a slightly different subject.
Okay.
But I just thought that what we were talking about right before we started reading was really related to this. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it wasn't even scripted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, even if like and just a quick like squirrel, like my dad would read the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhagavad Gita side by side within like 45 minutes, and all the topics are usually like they're very different, but they're all
Yeah.
touching on the same like ideas, but very specifically, not so broadly. Like there's so many amazing details, but that can like touch on different topics. So with the Vedas, yeah, it's really amazing how it can touch every, pool of water in the area. It's like an ocean with like rivers and, lakes and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it's both incredibly vast and also, I don't know if I want to say like pointed, but in the sense that there's a personality there, and that personality can touch you in a very specific point in your life, you know. And so when we read the scripture every day, it really is like it not like it is nourishment for the soul. Actually, it's like we feed our stomach because the body needs physical nourishment. um you know, we feed our mind by learning certain things. We nourish our dexterity, you know, and our skill in different crafts or trades, because that's nourishing to our career, you know, and so forth. Uh, and we nourish our heart by having relationships, right? And everyone acknowledges that all these things are very important for the human being to thrive. We also need to nourish our soul uh, in contacts with the personality of Godhead by hearing his word. It's like directly nourishing the soul, like how you actually interface with life itself, with, you know, spirit. Um, and the scripture is what will speak to you in that way. It's a little vague. It sounds a little vague, I think, but hopefully that made sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
My only question is the Mahabharata, is that the story that is just about Ram, Lord Ram?
No,
It's
the
Ramayana.
Mahabharata is the war of Kurukshetra. The Bhagavad Gita is the Mahabharata, and like it stems down to like two families. One family was rightfully for the throne, the other family got jealous, and like through jealousy, lust, and all that stuff, it encouraged like gambling. And because you know it's so, these stories show that things aren't so rigid. Like sure, you should respect your elders and all that kind of stuff, but like there is a time, place, and circumstance. And like all these elevated beings also make mistakes too. You know, like Prahlad is young while the father's older, but Prahlad's more senior in like, you know, his knowledge.
Mm.
So like in Ramayan is the Ramayan, I guess.
That's what it is. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
The yeah. Why did
Mhm.
I think that this
Well, these are the two great epics. So yeah,
Yeah.
in the
The
so
same
Bhagavad.
category.
are they is everything in the Mahabharata then?
Everything is in the Mahabharata in a sense, because the Ramayana is in a sense contained in the Mahabharata,
Oh, okay.
because those characters are actually ancient history for the
Oh,
characters
it's
of
like a
Mahabharata.
lead up to. It's like the next
Yeah.
chapter, the next, you know,
The
canto,
sequel, yeah,
sequel. And then
yeah,
it's all compiled in the Shrimad Bhagavatam.
right.
And like just to throw it out there, this guy, really knowledge guy who like sat there and meditated, you know, he had a pure heart. He wrote down like all these downloads. And at the end of the downloads, he was like so in pain. He's like, why I did this amazing thing. I wrote down all these stories. Why am I don't feel completed? And then his teacher, and you know, it's important to have a teacher. If you don't have a teacher, you're not going to be guided, or like, you know, you won't see your blind sides. So this the Vyasadev, the writer, he actually didn't touch upon the most accurate piece of bhakti, accurate piece of knowledge, which is Krishna bhakti. Like Krishna means like no death, you know, like Brahma, all these entities actually look for Krishna to be the guidance, Narayan.
Hmm.
So
And
the
that's
Shrimad
like the main
Bhagavatam.
point of, you know, the nourishment of the soul, along with the nourishment of all these other aspects. You know,
Yeah, like the
Vyasa
first nine
wrote,
cantos was just talking about everything. Hey, this, that, this is the measurement to the moon. This is how many hellish planets there are. This is why some people may be considered a certain way than another person. But then at the end, the 10th canto, it's like, but who's this? Who's the only person who basically does nothing this whole time? Let's talk about that person.
Hmm.
Because, like, if you think about it, Lord Krishna is just like a coward boy just playing. having a good time, acting as king.
Hmm.
Is that like, something, does that sound kind of correct, Balaram?
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I think that I got off the podcast, off of another podcast. They were just mentioning like how all the demigods and all the other gods, they kind of have to go do some Herculean task. But then like, what about this one avatar of Lord Vishnu who doesn't really, like, sure, he fights some demons as a kid, but that's all play. He's just having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, Krishna says in the Gita, there's no duty for me, but still I act, of course, because if I didn't, I would lead a bad example, but I don't have anything to do. So that's the position. We should understand this is the position of God, that everyone else, we have to do some duty. And I, there's a misconception about what and who God is. And it's not wrong, it's just incomplete, that God is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the world. And so it's like, you hear either he's like super busy workaholic, like micromanaging everything, or he's the watchmaker. He made everything, was super busy for 7 days or 6 days, right? And then he's like, okay, done. Set it in motion, you know, Haribo. I'm done with my work and now I'm up here. And at the end of your life, I'll judge you. But I'm not going to get involved, or maybe I will do some miracles, but that mostly happened 2,000 years ago, and I don't really do that anymore. Right? Like these are kind of the ideas. Um, and kind of a side note um, that might trickle into more discussion, but this idea that people's concept of God is largely influenced by their relationship with their parents and their formative years.
Wow.
So it's like, right? Christianism is like,
Right?
It's like, whoa, that just got serious.
I know.
Now the daddy issues and the mommy issues are all flooding in.
Daddy issues.
I need to go to therapy.
Right. So we need therapy because our daddy issues are influencing the way that we think about reality. And it makes sense, because those are issues that we have to work out. And so they're actually gifts from God because the reality is kind of juxtaposed to that syndrome, if you will. And by having it, this is our karma in our life to have the parents that we have, to have the relationships, the teachers, the friends, the enemies that we have. They're all gifts. It's not just, okay, well, this is how it is. And I just have to navigate my best way so I don't get hurt anymore and just, try to ignore the pain. No, you don't ignore. You have to resolve. And when you do, you find wholeness in yourself and you realize that's not actually the reality. It was just my karma. But when I transcend that, and if I transcend that, what to speak of someone who grows up, in a golden age, Satya Yuga, or to say a purely sattvic environment where there is no trauma, there is no miscommunication, right? It's just simple living a high thinking. You live simply, you think highly. The human brain is naturally set up to contemplate deep subject matters, right? And so, if you don't have daddy issues, you'll see God in everything because He is in everything, and it's natural for us to see Him in everything. But we get covered over by all the wrong things. So that was the side note, and I forget now what the actual note was. Oh, you were talking about Krishna not having to do anything, right? So God, we think of God as the same way that we would think of as the authority structures present in our life. He's an authority structure and he's involved in, he's sometimes working against me or whatever. But actually that's not the case. Sattva guna has this sort of neutrality aspect to it, which is Vishnu. Vishnu is ruling over that. And so the supreme Godhead is actually doesn't have anything to do in this world. And it's like he's waiting for us to come to that platform. So there's this other point that I'll bring up, and then I want to hear you guys speak. And I might have brought this up on the show before, but we watched the movie Contact a few months ago. Have either of you seen that? Jodie Foster? Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Cult classic movie. And there was a really good point that we discussed at length after the film, how the scientists, they built this machine that can travel to extraterrestrial world, and it like drops the ship through this like portal, this like vortex, and they're expecting it to disappear, right? But it just drops through and just falls into the lake or whatever. And they're like, oh, it failed. It didn't go anywhere. It just dropped right through. But in the moment that it dropped through, Jodie Foster experienced like 12 hours of extraterrestrial experience. And she's talking to this entity, and we're just like purely loving, has nothing to do in this world. And she's like, everyone should have this experience. Why aren't you like really pushing so more people have this experience? And it's like, look, like, you have to be in a certain place. Like it takes a long time. Right. And like he was very aloof, and the scientists were like, no, we want results. Like we need proof. We need to figure things out. So hopefully that's kind of helpful in drawing this dichotomy between the kind of masculine mindset, this very linear, very, figuring things out, and the very feminine kind of path of just experience in and of itself being the goal, right? So like this goal oriented, like pushing into the future, outside worlds, you know, structure and seriousness versus play. And so we're talking about how like higher beings, they're more interested in play, they're more interested in Leela. So the demigods are here praising the pastimes of Krishna above all other manifestations of God. Why? Why? Because Krishna is the supreme manifestation of play, of raw experience of the heart, the movements of the heart, right? Which is this spiritual activity you can't buy with anything. It's like there's a friend of mine who this is a little personal, but he shared or he encouraged me once to express my feelings to the opposite sex, right? And like, don't try to prepare anything, don't look for any results, just open your heart, speak, and whatever happens, it will be an experience that you will never forget. Dare to be vulnerable, right? Dare to be open and expressive and be in the moment, right? Because that's more powerful. Like, what are you going to do? Try to like manipulate the person into liking you or something? That you can't. You can, of course, everyone's trying to do that. And they think that God is like that too. That's how the God experience works. But no, it's being raw, real, authentic in the moment and experiencing play. And that's an experience of the soul in a sense. Like that. That's what I'm trying to map out here. As opposed to an experience of the mind or the body. So the demigods are very interested in these like Leela. It's connected with God, of course. That's what I mean. The experience of the soul. When it's a Leela, they are very interested in that. They're not so interested in these technical things, creator and destroyer of the universe. Who cares? That's boring. If you raise your consciousness, such things are paltry in comparison to a raw experience where your heart gets like annihilated in love, right? Like all of the rasa, and this is why Krishna is the supreme Godhead, because for those who are advancing consciousness, this is the most attractive thing. These rasas, the churning of the contents of the heart in all of its flavors, in all of its, depth. That is the person of Krishna. So, so this is what we're talking about when Prabhupada's writing Lord Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes. You can simply think of these pastimes and get full benefit because you're entering into remembrance and experience of the pastimes. It's not just an event. That would just be something of the mind. Like we need to study what happened. No, you need to experience. It's like if you're standing on the sideline, like as a kid, we're playing cops and robbers or something. And like from an external perspective, it's like, oh, there's just kids running around and just being silly. Looks like they're having fun. That's because it's imposed, actually. It's just a construct of their mind that they're having fun. That's an absurd conclusion. No, the fun is actually real. Fun is the natural state. It's just that the kids are actually diving into it and experiencing it. And then sometimes they'll grab the adult and be like, come play with us. Get out of your head. Get in the moment. Experience it. It's real. Imagination is real. Okay, go ahead.
So there's something to be said about if you're on the transcendental platform, it's like playtime, kind of. It's like you're allowed to like chill out and like be like a child. Like having childlike faith actually puts you on that transcendental platform where you're really kind of like in Vrindavan, spiritually speaking, and you are doing things that like Krishna would be doing. Like you're kind of hanging out with Krishna, like let's go pet some cows, let's go climb some trees. Like that is such a strange concept and so foreign to what I have been like indoctrinated as a Christian for like 80% of my life, But at the same time, it does kind of make sense because why would it be anything else? I mean, that is like pure rasa, that's like just pure fun, Like we were talking about skateboarding a minute ago. When I'm on that skateboard, dude, I am like pure fun. That's 100% fun. It's like I forget about all the worries and cares of the world. So maybe that's you're saying, so what you're telling me is that's what it is to be on the transcendental platform. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Not only is it being on a skateboard, but it's being on a skateboard with your best friend, your bestest friend, Krishna. In this world, we're looking for that experience, and we feel that I should be able to just skate as just a lifestyle. I should be able to play because I feel and know as true that has to be the meaning of life. It can't be all this seriousness. It has to be play.
I think there's some evidence in today's age where you see a lot of people online playing video games and making money out of it. And people, like millions of people, watch on YouTube. They watch people stream. Like we just want to connect back to fun. We want to connect back to play, experience, imagination, creativity, rather than how we've been brought up, which is 8 hours of learning, listen to a bell, sit in a straight line, walk in a line. They're creating doers. Let's do fun, but how about you just be fun?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. So there's 2 points. One, just to echo what you're saying. It's like, what speak of taking the best hours of your day, the best years of your life, and it's just like you've wasted your life, trying to invest in something that it's the wrong bank account, right? You think it's the old adage, man is investing all of his earnings in his bank account, and then at the end of his, when retirement time comes around, he goes to withdraw and he realizes that he had a typo in the account number. He put it in the wrong account. It wasn't his account. So he had nothing. So, and that kind of gets to the point of what the difference is between like mundane skateboarding and transcendental skateboarding, right? Leela. Well, what is the Leela? When we say Leela, we're talking about divine play. It could also be used in a mundane sense, but that's not what we're talking about here. So the difference is mundane consciousness, it's temporary and it's limited. So there's only a certain amount of skating that your body will support. And at a certain point, you're going to have to hang up the board, just like anything else. You're going to have to hang it up because your body can't support that enjoyment anymore, right? And then it's limited. When we're saying you're going to be skating with your best friend, we're all looking for like the ultimate crew, the ultimate partner, the ultimate entourage, but people let us down because we hold these expectations. It's like, well, I should have that, and I want you to be that for but nobody can be
entourage right here, bro. We are the ultimate entourage.
Why is that? Is because we've invited Krishna into our entourage, and therefore we're re-entering that eternal entourage of Achyuta Gotra, right?
Oh man.
Yeah, I'd love to just quickly add on that because like you're saying, like when you're skating, I'm gonna skate with my best friend, and that opens up to gratitude and genuine ninity. And those are like the two highest vibrations. So when I'm skateboarding, it becomes unlimited because now I'm so grateful that like Krishna has given me this body to perform these activities. And I'm grateful that Krishna is in my heart, experiencing this with me. So even though I'm going to stop skateboarding, it's the idea of like love and gratitude to the Paramatma that, hey, I get to be here. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And that you're in consciousness of him means that you're recognizing that he's there with you too. It's not just this like impersonal gratitude of, hey, thanks for giving me all the stuff. Like a child, a father gives him all stuff and he goes to school like, hey, yeah, thanks, thanks for breakfast. Or whatever. And it's like, thanks for being here and having breakfast with me. Thanks for being in this house and making this a wonderful family. It's like you realize that after you go through that phase, right? Being a young adult, and you're like, because you don't have that appreciation. It's like you might say it, but actually having the appreciation of relishing the company of the one who's, giving you love.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
Should we move on and try to get a couple more paragraphs in?
Yeah.
I'll apologize for that huge squirrel.
That was beautiful, squirrel. Do we want to say anything about Mahabharata?
Oh, sorry, Balaram. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. We call them chipmunks on this show.
Just chipmunks.
No, we don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we?
I just made that up. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll second that. Maybe, I don't know.
whatever forest rodent suits your fancy.
Yeah.
Raccoon.
Are you satisfied with the Mahabharata point, Jake?
I am completely satisfied with that point. I am.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and read the next one?
Okay. The next paragraph starts as.
And I know you guys want to go to the next paragraph. Like, I guess another, like, because if people are gonna read this and see this, I kind of conveniently skipped over those brackets
Right.
talking about less intelligent people.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
I
Yeah,
think that's something we should address because like I'm not saying I don't agree with it. Like a laborer and what was it? A laborer and what? Can you scroll up a bit?
Woman and mercantile class.
Yeah, and mercantile class, like, they're so busy trying to assimilate so much wealth, but like they're not living their lives. A laborer gives up so much time and has no real benefit at the end of the day. And then, like, it says woman, but what it's referring to is because, like, for guys, we have more time to sit there and think and itch our leg, where women, they have so many things to worry about. And like, this is just my opinion on this whole thing. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that. But like, women have so much more things going on in their lives that men do. And because of that, their duties are different. How
I
do
don't
you
know
feel
if
about
it's
that?
a matter of having more things to do with their time, but their psychophysical nature is different.
Mm-hmm.
But they're biologically wired to be more emotionally involved with
Yeah.
life.
they're actually
Right.
only different in Canada.
What?
They're only different in Canada.
Oh.
Just
Yeah.
Because
kidding.
you may not be aware, but in the rest of the world,
Wow.
no.
You cross that border and it's over, dude. It's over. No, okay, so that those brackets that you skipped over, um, I did pick up on that. And yeah, it's another one of these things where it's like like at the time he was writing this, the times and the places were different because so many people, like I already went through this before, like so many people like were talking to me. Well, not so many people, but a few people were talking to me about like, you can't say women are less intelligent. You can't do that. And I agree, you can't do that.
Yeah.
When he was writing this, I mean, I guess we have to kind of all be in agreement as like Prabhupada was old school, but I don't even know if like I actually kind of don't know where to go with this one.
I think it's when you aren't illiterate, that means you can't write and read in that language. So maybe there was more emphasis for guys to go get their like literation completed, whereas women were, and like, you need to eat, you need
Yeah.
to take care of the house, you need to do all these things. So like, I guess they were kind of gender roles.
Yeah.
But now, because of how much war is going on, how much, manipulations going on, so many guys died, so women had to step up. And now women have taken also a form of literacy. A lot of women, they're educated, but then, like, Bottom was saying, there is a science that if you want to not believe in science, then go right ahead, but you're missing a whole point, that there is a chemical difference, there's a physiological difference, there is a very much difference of guys and girls. And I personally stand by that. I stand on the side that there is a difference. Sure, we can have intellectual conversations, great, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, when there's a spider on the wall, you know, I don't see a lot of people jumping and saying, let me save that. They say, oh, get the guy to go do it. If there's a robber at the door, where's the guy? Wrestling, high advanced sports, to get the guy to do it.
Yeah.
Some people, but then, and yesterday we were talking about identifying with the body, like why, like, we were talking about like the differences of different people and all that kind of stuff. If we were real lovers of God and all that kind of stuff, none of that matters, but we clearly aren't pure lovers of God. So we have to kind of segregate and like differentiate a little bit. I hope that's okay to say.
Yeah, we have to work with the guna and karma our bodies, right? That's what Krishna says in the Gita about the Varnashram society. It's based on your qualities and your work, right? The guna, like like what is the composition of your body, and karma, it's like, what kind of stuff do you have to work with in this life? Do you need to cultivate feminine aspects or masculine aspects? But yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying there, Krishna, because it's not like I don't agree with this like trying to explain away Prabhupada. I think it maybe not that's how I want to say, but it's a dangerous way of thinking to just, well, Prabhupada, he comes from this culture and he's old school and you kind of have to understand he didn't know, it's like no. This
It
is
was
we're
not the
talking
best
about
argument.
Yeah, that's
his divine
disrespectful to the
grace.
old school.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, whatever to the old school, but we need to understand the position of Srila Prabhupada as he is directly empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to deliver the spiritual science. So we're not expecting him to know all the details of material sciences, but he's perfect in his knowledge of the spiritual science. So what he's presenting here is, his books are prophesied as the law books for the next 10,000 years, spiritual law books, and there's some people in our movement that want to change his books. And it's like, this is very dangerous. He's speaking on a scriptural authority. And so his words, he told his disciples, like, do not change an iota. It will ruin everything. I am very particular about every single word. Sometimes he would stay and sit on one single word, translating one word. He would take hours, maybe a whole day for one word, so it's not like he was unconscious of certain things or ignorant to certain things. No, he was explaining, this is what the scripture says. It's my job to present it. It's your job to understand it.
Yeah, if we change a little bit now, who knows how much will change at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the culture, not to say that the cultural context isn't there, as you guys were saying, in previous times, there was much more of a distinction or segregation,
Like a
you
divide.
could say, as far as the gender roles, right? The gender roles were much more distinct, and because people were working more closely with their guna and karma, that's the varnashram system. It was set up in a very nice way for people born in women bodies to cultivate feminine qualities and that way make advancement. And for men,
oh yeah,
I'll just finish that thought. And for men, they were given the opportunity to engage in scholastic study, whereas there was no need for the housewife to know advanced algebra, you know what I mean? So there's different roles in that. And like you're saying, these days, that's not so much the case, and Prabhupada recognized that, and that's why he engaged his female disciples in practically the same way as he did the men. Because also, the last point, that when we come to the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, we're not our bodies, right? For sure. So statements like this, we need to understand that it's talking about these classes of materialists, those who are not on the transcendental platform. This is what it is, right? If you're on the transcendental platform, you're not a woman, nor are you a man, nor are you a merchant. You're a devotee. But we need to recognize that these are the things that we're moving out of. It's like, I have the body of an American male with certain psychophysical disposition. I need to be aware of that. I can't just neglect that and bypass that and be like, well, I'm a devotee. I'm transcendental. No, I'm not. I'm not a transcendental. I have to follow the rules of a certain ashram. That's why we have these 4 ashrams. You can take sannyas, You can do that, and that means I am no longer I'm in the final stage. I have like one toe sticking on the Varnashram platform. Otherwise, I have nothing to do with the material worlds. But you have to be very honest and with yourself, very, transparent with yourself of like, what are you working with? And, what is a favorable way to work with those energies, that
Nice.
psychophysical makeup.
It would be fantastic to have a woman chiming in on this one right about now.
Hint, hint.
Very,
Woman who has
hey.
Yeah,
So we
Hare
don't get
Krishna.
accused of mansplaining.
I might not be the person to ask because I'm pretty conservative and traditional in my views, but I was taking a lot of notes, and I think you guys make a lot of really great points. As a female, I can understand where Prabhupada is coming from, and yeah, Balaram, you said something a while back that was it made so much sense to me that we have to work within the parameters of the karmic situation we're in. So the body that you're in, it does matter if it's male or female, because like you said, what did you just say? It was the guna and the karma of this body. That makes so much sense. If you're in a female body, you're dealing with certain aspects of karma, and it would be silly for me to deny that those exist. Like what kind of world would I be living in if I acted like there weren't any differences, So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes. So there you have it. Now we are almost at the end of our time. We've got like 5 minutes left. I don't know if you guys want to start a new paragraph.
Let's read one more.
Okay.
Let's read one more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Krishna Kirtan. You read the first one, Jake. Did you just read the last one? No, wait.
Oh,
we didn't even read it. We were about to.
Yeah, we were about to. Yes. And then
Jake, please read.
Okay. The pure devotees who are always absorbed in the thought of transcendental lotus feet of Krishna, and who are always engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, are never to be considered to be in the material world. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness with body, mind, and activities are to be considered liberated even within this body. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord have already transcended the material position. This next one is very short. I could throw it in there like a bonus. The next little, I'll just go with it. Sure. Krishna appears in order to give a chance to both the devotees and the non-devotees for realization of the ultimate goal of life. The devotees get the direct chance to see him and worship him. Those who are not on the platform get the chance to become acquainted with his activities and thus become elevated to the same position. How very interesting. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he was one of the founders, right, of what we have now, right? He is the
founder of the Hare Krishna movement. Yeah.
So okay, and that's where we get Rupa Nuga.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of Shriva.
I find it interesting how what we were kind of talking about, like we were like kind of peppering on what this is saying. Like we were trying to just say in our own mental concoction, but then there it just directly states, but if you're a true man or woman of God, we don't really need to be absolutely concerned about these small things. And like, sure, we can learn the Vedas, but if we just love, then we don't get caught up in the entanglement.
Yeah. You know, this is such a good point. There's a lot to be said here, but
Yeah.
this point of you not being your body, there's a very like lofty idea of what being spiritual means. You know, it's like being spiritual means like everybody is exactly the same, and you know, it's this kind of impersonal om chanting sort of thing. And like if I can just like cease all of my external activities, then I'm spiritual. But the real spiritualist has a radically different view. It being active in the world with your body in no way disqualifies you from being spiritual. Actually, it's a greater type of renunciation when you can act with your body for the purpose of serving Krishna, you know, and actually connecting with another person. It will look, it can look exactly the same. You know, Krishna even says, you know, that verse in the Gita, you know, those in spiritual consciousness similarly act. They look the same on paper as a pure materialist, but their consciousness is different. So those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness with the body, mind, and activities are to be considered liberated even within the body. You know, so devotees are meant to act. So, I mean, think about this. If you're on the spiritual platform, you know, and you're given a body that has certain, you know, qualities, would you feel entangled by utilizing it? It's like, trying to think of an example. Like if you're at, for some
If
reason,
you're
this is what's,
if you're using
you're
like if you're using like, you know, hatha yoga, or if you're using, you know, pranayama, or the same thing, if you're using like, you know, kundalini, is that kind of what you're saying?
all of these things, yeah, all these tools
Don't
that we have.
say that around me.
The body, yeah, okay, well, put that on the side for now. The
Yeah.
point is, whatever you're given, you're not attached to it because you're simply using it. It's like if you go to, okay, for some reason, this is an example that's coming to me. You go to like a fair and it's got like a kids activity thing, and I don't know if this is very helpful. Like using different things just for like for that day, you are, you know, face painting or, you know, whatever, like using like squirt guns or something. It would be helpful if it was like an example of something that's like used to achieve a goal, or like you go into work and you're given your garments, you know, the apron. Like I used to work in the kitchen. You get an apron, you get, you know, a pair of gloves and whatever, yada yada. And those are like that's your paraphernalia. But at the end of the day, what do you do with those things? You toss them in the hamper. Do you like write your name on it? Like no one else can use this apron. It's mine. I am this apron. You know, can't you see this is me? It's like, no, I have a life, you know? So transcendental consciousness means I have a life, like with Krishna, and whatever the temporary situation of my body, my mind is that I'm utilizing, I'm not so attached. But because like the more transcendental that you get, actually the better that you'll use it. The more refined your consciousness will be of like, how can I use all these things in the service of Krishna?
So
Like Srila
use your
Prabhupada,
skateboard in
Yeah.
the service of Krishna.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what you're just trying to say here.
That's what we're saying. That's what it is. Yes.
but you're not attached to being a skateboarder.
Yeah,
Right.
no. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this with my
If you're
friend. Whatever
attached to
I
that
do, as long as
designation,
we're
that's in the
together.
body. What's that?
Is whatever we do, let's do it together. Me and Krishna.
Yeah. If you are in the consciousness that you are with Krishna, you will not be attached to any body or opulence that the Lord gives you. You'll see everything as coming from Him. This is called Krishna.
So if you don't mind, because I always want to bring this back to practicality. How can we apply it today? How can I bring Krishna in with my depression?
You have to bring Krishna into your life. You know, you're depressed because you don't know who you are, right? If we knew who we were as beautiful part and parcel of Krishna, naturally perfect and wonderful and enchanting, full of knowledge, full of bliss, eternal, undefilable, there would be nothing to be depressed about. But we are not in that consciousness because we've turned away from Krishna. So we simply have to bring him back into our life, and he will illuminate everything from within. Tesham satati yuktanam vajtam pritipurvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam. Right. So tadami, he'll give you.
That is a very good.
But we don't know how to move around in this world. We don't know how to skateboard in Krishna consciousness. We don't know how to deal with anxieties of our mind because we've forgotten Krishna. So it's a very, very simple formula.
What were you saying, Jacob?
So practical level, it's like you need to connect with Krishna. You need to learn who is Krishna. You need to hear about Krishna.
Yeah.
There's so many practical things, like here, take a japa and this time of day, or in your job, this relationship, here's something you can do to navigate. There's definitely specifics like that too, but the most practical thing is chant Hare Krishna. That's actually the most practical thing you do with your life. It seems abstract. It's incredibly practical.
Yeah.
Because you're nourishing your soul directly. You're chanting the names of God. You're vibrating divinity. This is like a must. It's an absolute must.
Yeah. Yeah. If I hadn't tried it and given it a real good try and a real good go, I would not have believed that. But what I was saying is that is such a relevant thing right now, that you brought up the depression thing. Very, very practical and extremely relevant to these modern times in which we all live, where as a world we are connected and yet we're further apart than we've ever been. Like people, this is the challenge of our generation, of our day right now, is like, what do we do with this internet thing? Like, what do we do with modern society? How do we get through it? And how do we get undepressed? That, and I would love to delve into that. We are at the very end of our time right now, but let's stick a pin in that and come right back to it on the next episode, because I think it's one of the most relative things we could be talking about right now.
We're just talking about the deepest things at the last moment.
It's okay. We do it all the time.
Cliffhanger. Come back next time.
Well, let's stick a pin in that last paragraph. We'll reread that. And I want to talk about deity worship, because that was a point that came up earlier that I thought to bring, what God Brother mentioned last night, and how that will shift your consciousness.
Yeah.
And how the Lord is, getting the direct chance to see him and worship him. Like there's a lot of juice there. So let's remember.
It's juicy.
All right. Well, should we do the Maha Mantra 3 times?
Let's raise the roof.
All right.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All right, beautiful people. Hare Bol, thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe and do all that great stuff that you do on YouTube for us. And we will check you out next time. Smash that like button, as the kids say these days. Mwah!